Deep in the arid expanse of Rajasthan's Balotra district, rolling sand dunes stretch for miles before meeting a flat, sun-baked plain. Out of this landscape rises the HPCL Rajasthan Refinery, a massive, brightly lit labyrinth of towering distillation columns and interwoven steel pipes. On the afternoon of April 20th, 2026, the atmosphere here was electric. Security teams from the Special Protection Group were conducting final sweeps of the complex. They were securing the site for an event years in the making. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was scheduled to arrive the next day to inaugurate this 80,000 crore rupee facility. This wasn't just another project. It was the culmination of a decade-long national infrastructure effort, marking a major milestone for India's domestic energy production. But just before 2 o'clock, thick black smoke began billowing into the desert sky.
A fire had broken out near the core of the facility, forcing the immediate evacuation of security forces and workers. Emergency teams managed to extinguish the flames within a few hours, with no reported casualties. However, the damage was done. The inauguration was postponed indefinitely. When HPCL released their initial findings, the cause seemed surprisingly routine. They traced the blaze back to a simple hydrocarbon leak from a single valve. But the official response suggested something far more serious. Almost immediately, the National Investigation Agency, India's premier counterterrorism task force, was dispatched to probe the site, which raises a significant question. Why does a routine mechanical failure in the desert trigger an immediate national security investigation? To find the answer, we have to look at the reported point of failure. Engineers identified a heavy industrial flange valve where a pressurized seal gave way, allowing volatile gas to escape. That valve is attached to the base of the crude distillation unit, where crude is separated into naphtha, diesel, and aviation fuel. Introducing high-pressure hydrocarbons into a brand-new system is inherently dangerous. A nearly identical fire broke out at the Paradip refinery in 2016, occurring just over a week before its own scheduled inauguration. This Rajasthan facility is especially complex, boasting a Nelson Complexity Index of 17. That rating measures its ability to process low-quality crude into high-value fuels, making it the most advanced public sector refinery in the country. Because the CDU is the primary front-end unit, any damage effectively paralyzes the entire facility. If the heart of the refinery stops, the whole 80,000 crore rupee complex goes dark. This paralysis is a major setback for a project with a long, troubled history. The foundation stone was laid in 2013, but the project stalled for years due to fiscal disputes before work finally began in earnest in 2018. During that decade of delays, costs skyrocketed. What was originally estimated at 37,000 crore rupees has grown into an investment of nearly 80,000 crore rupees. Repairing the unit and conducting new safety audits could push the start of commercial operations by several months. For the state government, which holds a 26% stake, the delay is expensive. The refinery is expected to generate up to 40,000 crore rupees in monthly revenue once it's fully operational. A mechanical flaw in a single valve didn't just singe metal. It effectively paused a massive revenue stream for an economy that had waited over a decade for this project to finish. The consequences of this delay extend well beyond the state budget. India depends on imported crude for over 88% of its energy needs. Much of that supply must pass through a single, precarious bottleneck, the Strait of Hormuz. This waterway is at the center of a geopolitical crisis. Tensions involving Iran have led to threats of naval blockades, making the region increasingly volatile. When your primary energy supply has to navigate through an active conflict zone, the domestic economy remains vulnerable to sudden disruptions in the global market. This is exactly why the Rajasthan refinery was built. By producing 9 million metric tons of domestic fuel and petrochemicals annually, it was designed to act as a shield against these Middle Eastern supply shocks. The timing of the fire is critical. It sidelined this domestic capacity at the exact moment international supply lines became dangerously unstable. A leaking valve in the desert did more than delay a ribbon cutting. It sidelined a facility meant to protect India's energy security,
leaving the nation's supply lines exposed at the very moment they needed a domestic buffer most.